Practice, practice, practice. Even the sound of that phrase is boring and repetitive. What keeps us guitarists from developing our skills is boring practice sessions that feel like endless grinding out practice patterns in repetition. But what if I told you the secret to significant improvement isn't about long hours in a practice room? It's about practicing smart and easy consistently. Today, let's unlock how to turn just 15 minutes a day into impressive progress. Now let's get nerdy. I'm Andy Schneider, career musician turned guitar coach, producer, and author of over 100 books for my publishing company, Seeing Music Books. I was a high school band nerd, then a devoted jazz guy, then a backing musician for great artists in every type of music. From Austin to Nashville to New York City, I've learned from my musical experiences and the great musicians that were there with me. I'm a self-taught guitarist, but I was lucky enough to get the right bits of education early on in my career. Pairing that with the many conversations I've shared with more experienced musicians put me on the path to success, a path that built my skills to become the experienced, confident musician audiences enjoy today. I created the Guitar Nerd podcast to give you simple steps to building and growing your musical knowledge, having greater abilities, and getting that amazing music that's inside of you out and into the world where we can all enjoy it. Whether you're a beginner or experienced guitar or bass player, if you want to make fantastic music, you're in the right place, my friend. Now let's get nerdy. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Guitar Nerd. My name is Andy Schneider. This is the place where we talk all things nerdy about guitars and bass guitars. Whether you're starting out or you've been plucking strings for years, I hope you'll find something here to energize your music this week, fuel up that musical tank. Last week's episode was supercharged strumming. Yeah, we talked about the basics of strumming, what makes it good, how to make it better, and then how to take it somewhere by making it really interesting, throwing in some dynamics and some little slick techniques that take simple, vanilla, plain and ordinary and turn it into something memorable, something fluid and musical. Go check it out. It's in the podcast store. That was episode 4. This is episode 5, and this week we're going to be talking about an essential part of every musician, which is smart and effective practice, getting more out of your routine. Do you have a routine? I hope you have a routine. If you don't have a routine, I bet I know why. You lost motivation. Happens to everybody. It's happened to me more times than I could ever try to count. And the way that I keep it up, I'm going to lay out for you. I'm going to show you exactly how I do it, how I stay on task, how I stay motivated after years and years of practice. And I think you can safely say that motivation plays a big part in keeping us moving forward in our playing development. Motivation. There are only 2 things to keep in mind when developing motivation: getting more out of the good stuff and avoiding more of the bad stuff. Yeah. Building in more rewards and avoiding the stuff that wastes our time. It shouldn't be painful. It shouldn't feel like a grind. And you'll find that if you can keep it pleasant like that, but routine, you're going to go further, faster. Guarantee it. Practicing effectively is crucial to getting better at playing guitar or bass. But what's the best way to practice? Over and over for hours? No. Not usually. Practicing for long stands has a place. But how can you achieve great results without feeling overwhelmed? Most of us live in the real world. We've got jobs, families, lots of personal commitment. We've got to get more out of our time. And there's a way to do that. It's not about practicing all day. It's about practicing the right way. Make those minutes count. The first thing I encourage you to do is to develop a routine. Practice every day. Even if it's just for a few minutes, that's okay. Find time at the beginning of the day before everything's gotten crazy busy, or maybe on your lunch hour. I've been known to take a guitar to work with me and find a quiet space at a job where I could get my practicing done. If you do it at night, that's great too. Even just a few minutes a day beats the heck out of infrequently. Beats the heck out of infrequent long periods. Consistency beats quantity when it comes to practicing. Find a quiet place, free from distractions, where you can leave your practice materials out. Leave them out on the stand. Leave them ready to go when you walk in. It's best to have a routine area where you can quickly take a seat and get to work without having to set up each time. More about getting the good stuff and not the bad stuff. Having to set up and tear down each time, that's just a good reason to not do it at all today, don't you think? Yeah, avoid that. Have a place where you can walk in, set yourself down, focus up, and get stuff done quickly. I advise you to know what you want before you even sit down. I bet you think about your playing when you're off in the world, don't you? Don't you think, man, I've been having a great time learning that song or learning that lead or getting my fingering just right for those new chords? Know what you want before you sit down. Have some little goals ready. Today, when I go to the practice area, I'm going to be working on A, B, and C. Maybe it's getting your strumming rhythm happening or exploring a new approach to a solo. Know what you want before you even get there. You can start with warm-up exercises, if you like, to get your fingers moving, comfortable on the fretboard to kind of get yourself centered. That's a good idea. Get yourself centered and brain working in guitar mode, which I find I have. I have a guitar mode, and when I'm in it, I can play music, and when I'm not, I can't. Revisit previous day's practice items. What did you practice yesterday? Spend just a little bit of time revisiting the previous day's practice items. What did you work on yesterday? What did you work on the day before? And revisit those briefly. Don't let it eat up your whole time. Again, this is about intention. You're going to sit down with the intention of getting to whatever it is that you're working on today. But it's very helpful to hit the same material once, twice, 3 times in a row, because that really forms the cement that keeps that idea working for you for a long time. So for each practice session, set small, achievable goals. For example, learn one new chord or a little section of a song and play it smoothly. First, you're going to be just finding your way along. That's cool, one note at a time. Work on maybe trying to play just a small section of that song smoothly. If it's not going well, stop. Slow it down. Pick it apart and figure out what's happening. Often the problem isn't where your attention has been. Like, if you're learning a new riff, you're probably thinking a lot about the notes and the pattern of the riff and getting that sequence memorized. If you were to run into trouble in that case, I'd recommend looking at your other hand, your picking hand. It's possible all of your focus was on just one aspect, like cleanly fretting those notes, when perhaps your pick wasn't making it cleanly between strings. Perhaps it wasn't your fretting hand after all, it was actually your pick hand. Slowing it down, break it down, that should show you where the problem lies. Keep a metronome handy and use it every day. It will show you where the deficiencies are. It's very easy for us to believe what we kind of hear in our head, that of course we're playing this fine. It sounds fine to me, but what I'm really listening to is that meter in my head, the projection of what it should be, as opposed to what it is. The metronome will kind of wake you up to, oh, I'm not playing on time. I'm not making it to the downbeat of the next chord at the right time. Use that metronome to build your sense of timing and rhythm. It's going to pay off big dividends. That metronome might be an app on your phone, I use a combined metronome and guitar tuner. It was free. I downloaded it from my app store. I use that on my phone to tune myself and to practice. There's another tool on your phone that's great. Use the voice recorder. Yeah, use a phone app or some sort of recorder to review your progress. Speaking personally, I hear things very differently if I'm only listening. I hear them very differently than if I'm focused on making the music. I hear much better when I don't have that guitar in my hands, when I look at it in the cold light of day, perhaps the next day. And I get a lot of clarity and perspective on what's going on in my playing, what's going on well, and what areas of my music need work. Use a little recorder. Also, consider using a practice journal or a diary. Record your goals and track your progress. This little tool can become one of your most powerful allies in seeing just how far you've come. It not only keeps you pointed towards your goals by reminding you of what your intention was this week, but I tell you, as you see your own progress developing in front of you, it's there in black and white. It's proof that you've made progress. You're going to find new motivation to continue. I keep track of, I'm working on the C major scale, and I'm learning it up and down the neck. And on Monday, I was able to play it at 52 beats per minute. Okay, that's great. And then as I work on it through the week, that metronomic number, that 52, becomes 60, and then 64 and 68. And I can prove to myself, it's right there in black and white. Hey, I have been doing something worthwhile this week. Look at that. I can do things this Friday I couldn't do on Monday. That keeps me going. I only came in here to grab a... Now, you probably don't keep a practice diary yet, but I really recommend it, and I just created a practice journal page for you to keep track of your own progress, keep you focused on your goals. This is the actual journal page that I use. I just keep it on my computer. I print out as many as I need whenever I need them. I want you to have it. Visit the download page at guitarnerd.net, and you're going to find Andy's practice journal there in the download section. It's going to get you started. That's gtrnrd.net, and grab that PDF for free. Yeah, keep it on your hard drive and print out some copies anytime you need them. Keep them on your practice stand. That's Andy's practice journal at guitarnerd.net. Round two of the hurt we've been through will be ringing when we wake up again. We're gonna regret this in the morning, so I think we better plan to sleep in. Okay, this is that time in the show when we are about to nerd out. This is for you more advanced players, you more advanced guitar and bass players. If you've been playing for a while, or maybe you're a professional, welcome. I've got some ideas for you as well. Our projects get bigger as we develop as musicians. Our projects get bigger. For example, one time I said to myself, that's it. This summer I am going to learn country guitar playing. It's a big job. That's saying a lot. There are a lot of little bits to being a great country guitarist. And I said, I'm going to learn them all. I'm going to do it. Anything that I ever wanted to know, I'm going to write it down, and then I'm going to keep track and achieve that. So that's what I did, and I'm advising you to do the same. I know that you've got big goals. So, as your goals and needs develop, write down something like 50 licks or songs or solos, 50 things that you really want to put in your toolkit, that you really want to put in your bag. Write them down and then keep track of your progress learning them. This is going to keep you busy for quite a while. On my practice journal that I mentioned earlier, Andy's practice journal, It's the free download this week from guitarnerd.net. There is an example of this and how I implement keeping track of my progress. I use a little bar graph meter. Yeah, even though it's a piece of paper, I make a little bar graph. So I write down the name of the song, and I'm going to learn that hot Telecaster solo. And then in my bar graph, it's just got like 4 sections in the bar graph, just like a LED bar graph on a stereo, the loudness meter. I start filling it up as my practice develops. So my bar graph meter starts at 0%. And as I start learning, maybe I've downloaded the song or I bought the sheet music and I've given it some looks and I'm starting to get my fingers around it. Maybe I'm at 25%. So I shade in that little bar graph to 25%. And some more time goes by and I've got it about half learned. About half learned is sounding kind of good and it's medium tempo. It's maybe not all the way up to, that's 50%. And you'll see how it goes. By the time I get to, oh yeah, this is ready to play, that's 100%. So it's a really neat little way of keeping me focused on, I need to revisit that solo. I'm only at 25% of it. And darn it, I said I was going to be at 100. So you'll see that on Andy's practice journal, an example of how to use a little bar graph and keep track of your goals. Write down 50 of those things and wow, your playing is going to take a huge turn towards the stars. Yeah. Keeping track of goals is a great motivational tool. Not only are you going to see improvements, but you'll also be constantly reminded of your goals, and that will keep you looping back, focusing on them, making progress. Next week, we're going to be talking about tube amps, specifically how they're built and the different generations of tube amps. They've kind of developed over the years. I mean, we've had almost, 100 years of these electric appliances, and they've gone through big architectural changes, which led to big sonic changes, which led to big musical changes. It's worth knowing about the different generations of tube amps so that you might understand them and be able to go for your goals that much easier. We're going to be diving into the ins and outs of everything tweed, blackface, silverface, plexi. Yeah, we're going to get nerdy with some tube amps. You've got great music inside of you. Let's get it out and into the world for everyone to hear. You can do this, guitar player. You got it. Reassess your practice routine this week. Are you getting lots out of your practice time? Are you getting somewhere with your playing? Have a look at your practice routine. Use these tips and see how much more you can get out of your instrument and your music. Until next time, have a great nerdy week. I'm Andy Schneider, and you've been listening to Guitar Nerd.